Hello, Brain. This is Forrest, and I would like to give you this demo to show you what I have done so far. And okay, so directly let's go to the project, and this is the ESTY project, and there are some uh, code files. And the first one is the transactions. This is for the query for the web page, and this is the config file. And so you just need to change the server username, password, and so on. And this is the consumer key and secret. Just this is your I used your um, registered key and secret. And there are some folders. One is a web service. This web service you use to get the uh, data, the transactions within the start date and end date from database. And this for the database um, uh, procession, and this is for our OAuth authentication. And I did this one. For example, the name is ESTYO authentication. That did the communicate with the server using the OAuth protocol. And there are some open source in the web, but most of the code is just use the PHP um, OAuth library, but that is dependent on the software infrastructure you use. So I think that is not useful sometimes. So I created this for our implementation. Okay, and also have a admin page. The admin uh, is used to get data, get a transaction from database from the server using the API. Because just as I said, the transaction is OAuth required. You cannot get the data from the server directly. So, and you can see that we can check the documentation that you can see that requires OAuth. That is yes. So, but for their implementation of the OAuth protocol, just as I showed you their documentation, you have to copy the verifier code each time when you access to the server. Let me give you a check that this is their document. So you can see that every time when you click, this is their formal documentation about how to implement it use PHP. You can see that it also needs you to authorize the request. So that is you every time you connect to a server, you need to allow access this button. But for Facebook or Twitter, we just need to do it at the first time. After that, you do not need to do that. But I just tried again. The ETSY don't support it. You need to have to allow to click this button every time. So after that, it will generate a random code. For this code, we can use it to query the data. So that's just as I said. We cannot do all the process automatically. That means we cannot do a cron job. Okay, so let's go to our web page to show what and have done. And okay, so um, we can check our uh, the API function first. It is in the admin. Normally, it should redirect to the ESTY to uh, request a token, you can see that it will redirect the login to this page to their server, and that is signing with the consumer key and the request token. And so, just as the documentation said, you need to check, click this button to allow access. After that, it will redirect to our server. Okay. After loaded, you can see that it will go back to call back our index page, and with a new token and also the verifier code generated. And if it will, for our this page, it will get queried all of the transactions. So far, there are more than 8,000 transactions in your shop, and for their API call, the max limit is 100 per call. So that means we need to call the server about 80 times. So that maybe I just checked that before. They maybe need 1 or maybe need 2 minutes to finish all of the process. And you can see that we get all of the data: the transaction ID, the title, seller user ID, buyer user ID, the paid time, and the price, the quantity, and the listing ID, and the URL. And you can see that this is still under the running, and there are already many data. So maybe we need to wait for a moment, and every time we run this script, it will delete all of the previous data in the database first, because uh, this will get all of the new data. The old data is not necessary. And so after that, for the web page query with the filter start date and end date, we not directly query the server. They are using their API. We only need to check our database to query our database. So my suggestion is, because the cron job doesn't work, um, and my suggestion is you can run this script every maybe 2 or 3 days, even more longer, because it's just to get all of the data. It's time consuming, and you do not need to check the server every 1 hour, maybe even 1 day. So even though we cannot do a cron job, but I think that is not so uh, important. You can run it manually, even every week, I think. Okay, so maybe we still need to wait a moment. And of course, we can check the DP to check how many transactions do we have right now. Okay, you can see that there's already 5,200. Maybe it's nearly finished. Okay, maybe we still need to wait maybe about 1 minute. Okay, so we come back to the code to check something, and most of the time I did is just about how to do this script to implement the authentication this AUTH protocol for our ESTY side server. And normally, for the OAuth, maybe for before the OAuth protocol, what we need to get data from the server is using to provide the username and the password to the website. The site gets the username and the password to query the data from the server, just similar to the Yahoo email import function, right? But that is not secure because users first need to provide their credentials to the website. So right now for the OAuth, we, we do not need to do that. What you need to do, go to the to get the request token. But when you try to get the request token, you need to go to their, it will redirect you the user to their server side, just as we just get the first for the signing page. So that is security. But for sometimes just for our requirement. We just get data from our own shop. So I think that is not necessary, right? But for most of the sites, the OAuth is the only way to authentication. It not support username and passwords. For example, the Twitter, they allow the username and password also, but after for a while of using the OAuth, they stop that kind of authentication. But as I know, the Amazon still support that. Okay, we can go back to check our database account. That is 8,479. Okay, so maybe that is already finished. Okay, that is already finished. So I just print all the data in the web page, but this is not necessary. It's just for you to check it more clearly. And right now, then we can go to the web page to uh, query the transaction we have. This is the web page, and refresh it. And at the initial state, there is a start date and end date for you to choose the date. When we click it, it will have a calendar. For example, the September 1st and the 20th, and click the get transaction. You can see that it will show all of the transactions, include the ID, title, price, and the quantity, listing ID, and so on. And also it has the paging. We can go to the next, and also the last and the first. And we can also, the default is show 10 entries. We can also change it to show 100. And so the paging is also changed automatically. And we can also sort the item, for example, the price. Just click the header. For each one, just click the header. It can will sort it. And we can also criteria. For example, we just want to get the price 699, 699. It will just show 699. And we also support the export function. For example, copy to the clipboard and save as CSV and Excel and print table. And this is all. So um, just for the, and of course another one thing is about the activity. We have the other table name activity to show to record all of the activity queries. For example, for this one, and this is the start date, the end date, the IP address, and the account returned, and also when the time the query the database the query Okay, so I think for the transactions it is already done, just the cron, except the cron job, but that is undoable. So we cannot only do things that the server support, right? For example, for my before project, for example, the Amazon, there are some clients who want to get, uh, they said I want to get all of the data from Amazon, so that is undoable. So I just try my best to work with all of the clients. Okay, so for the release, I, I'm not sure. I still haven't clear ideas about how to. So, how do you know which, for example, this is all of the listing ID. So, which one you want to release and how you want to release according to what, for example, the account of the product count for this listing, maybe, but I'm not sure. And so for release, what action do we do? I haven't checked the API, but I'm not sure. If I can do that, I will talk about it to you soon. Okay, thank you.